In 1969, a scientist walked into a laboratory carrying a discovery that could have changed medicine forever. Within months, his funding vanished, his research disappeared from journals, and his name slowly faded into obscurity. Most people have never heard of him. And that is the strange thing about history. The inventions that change the world are not always the ones we remember. Sometimes the most important ideas are the ones that vanish. Today, we're diving into inventions that were considered too disruptive, too profitable to suppress, or simply too dangerous for the world around them. Some were buried by corporations, others disappeared through fear, politics, or mystery, but all of them leave behind the same uncomfortable question. How different would life look today if these ideas had survived? And trust me, the final story might completely change the way you look at every product you own. Let's start with something almost impossible. There is a light bulb hanging inside a fire station in Livermore, California. It has been glowing for more than a century. Think about that for a second. Over 100 years of continuous use. Through wars, economic crashes, technological revolutions, and generations of families, this single bulb just kept burning. Engineers have studied it, visitors travel across the country to see it, and yet modern light bulbs struggle to survive a few years. That sounds ridiculous until you learned what happened in the 1920s. Major lighting companies secretly formed an agreement known as the Phoebus Cartel. Their goal was not to improve light bulbs, it was to make them fail faster. Companies were literally fined if their bulbs lasted too long. Imagine the level of engineering required to intentionally create something worse. They realized a terrifying business truth. Durability was bad for profits. That philosophy never disappeared. It evolved. Today, your phone battery weakens after a few years. Your printer suddenly refuses to work because a software chip says the cartridge is empty. Appliances die right after the warranty expires. Planned obsolescence became the invisible rule behind modern consumer culture, not because companies could not build longer-lasting products, but because they discovered they made more money when things broke. And once you realize that, you start seeing it everywhere. Back in the 1990s, General Motors created something that looked like the future. It was called the EV1, one of the first truly modern electric vehicles ever released by a major automaker. Drivers loved it. People who leased the car described it as smooth, quiet, and strangely addictive to drive. For many owners, it felt like technology from 20 years ahead. But then something bizarre happened. GM suddenly canceled the program. Customers begged to keep their vehicles, some even offered to buy them outright. The company refused. Instead, they repossessed nearly every single EV1 and crushed them in the desert. Not sold, not preserved, destroyed. That image still haunts people today. Rows of futuristic electric cars being flattened like scrap metal while customers protested outside the gates. Officially, GM claimed the program was too expensive and consumer demand was weak, but critics argued something else was happening. Oil interests, dealership repair profits, and fear of disrupting the traditional auto industry may have made electric vehicles feel like a threat instead of an opportunity. And here is the weirdest part. Decades later, electric vehicles became the future anyway, which raises a disturbing possibility. How far ahead could we already be if those programs had continued? Now, let's talk about one of the strangest inventions ever demonstrated on television. In the late 1980s, a British inventor named Maurice Ward created a material called starmite. Ward was not a famous scientist, he was a hairdresser, but somehow, after years of experimenting in his kitchen, he developed a substance with unbelievable heat resistance. On live television, an egg coated in starlight was blasted with extreme heat from a torch. The shell blackened from the flame, but when they cracked it open, the egg inside remained raw and cool. NASA reportedly became interested. Defense agencies reportedly examined the material. Experts could not easily explain how it worked. Ward believed companies would steal his formula, so he refused to fully reveal it without maintaining control. Negotiations collapsed again and again. Then he died in 2011, and the exact formula was allegedly lost with him. Think about how insane that sounds. A material potentially capable of resisting enormous temperatures may have disappeared forever because trust broke down between one inventor and the institutions trying to buy his discovery. And honestly, that theme appears again and again throughout history. Sometimes inventions vanish not because they fail, but because human greed, ego, or fear gets in the way. Few stories capture that better than Nikola Tesla. Today, Tesla is treated like a scientific legend, but near the end of his life, he was isolated, broke, and viewed by many people as eccentric or unstable. Yet this was the same man who helped develop alternating current, radio technology, wireless communication concepts, and remote control systems. But Tesla's most ambitious dream terrified investors. He imagined transmitting electricity wirelessly across the globe. No power lines, no meters, no monthly electric bills. Energy available almost everywhere. Financier J.P. Morgan initially supported Tesla's tower project because he believed it would revolutionize communication technology. But once it became clear Tesla wanted to distribute energy itself wirelessly, funding reportedly vanished. The reason was brutally simple. If electricity became freely accessible, how would powerful companies charge for it? Tesla's tower was eventually demolished, and he died alone in a New York hotel room. After his death, government officials seized many of his papers. To this day, conspiracy theories swirl around what may or may not have been hidden inside those files. Now, to be fair, some claims about Tesla are exaggerated online. But even stripped of the myths, the truth is still astonishing. One of the greatest inventors in human history died nearly forgotten while trying to create systems that might have transformed civilization itself. And sometimes suppression is not even hidden. The United States has an actual law called the Inventions Secrecy Act. Under this law, certain patents can be restricted if government agencies believe the technology could threaten national security. Thousands of inventions have reportedly been placed under secrecy orders over the decades. Some of those inventions may involve military technology. Others may never become public at all. Imagine spending years creating something revolutionary only to receive a letter telling you that you cannot discuss it, sell it, or even acknowledge it exists. That sounds like science fiction, but it is very real. And honestly, it forces you to ask an uncomfortable question. How many inventions are sitting behind locked doors right now? How many breakthroughs never reached society because someone powerful decided the timing was wrong? Now let's move into a story that became one of the most controversial medical mysteries ever discussed online. Royal Raymond Rife claimed he created devices capable of targeting harmful microorganisms using specific electromagnetic frequencies. Supporters believed he discovered a revolutionary approach to disease treatment. Critics argued his methods lacked proper scientific evidence. But the reason this story exploded was not just the invention itself, it was the destruction surrounding it. Laboratories were reportedly raided, research disappeared, partnerships collapsed. Some supporters claimed medical organizations aggressively attacked competing treatments to protect their own influence and profits. Now, it is important to stay grounded here. There is no verified proof that Rife's treatments cured cancer the way supporters claimed. Scientific skepticism absolutely exists for a reason. But the emotional power of the story comes from something deeper. People fear the possibility that life-changing discoveries could be buried before they are properly explored. Whether Rife was right or wrong, millions became fascinated by the idea that powerful systems sometimes protect themselves before protecting innovation. And honestly, history gives them reasons to worry. You can actually see that fear explode in one of internet's favorite conspiracy stories, the water-powered car.
In the 1990s, inventor Stanley Meyer claimed he built a vehicle capable of running on water using a special fuel cell design. Videos of his demonstrations spread rapidly. Supporters believed he had solved the energy crisis. Skeptics accused him of exaggeration or fraud. Eventually, a court ruled that his system did not function the way he claimed. But then came the moment that transformed the story into legend. Meyer suddenly died during a meeting at a restaurant. According to witnesses, his final words allegedly included the claim that he had been poisoned. The official cause of death was ruled natural causes related to health complications. No poison was found. Yet, for many people, the timing felt too suspicious. The image of an inventor collapsing after challenging energy systems became internet mythology almost overnight. That is the strange thing about these stories. Even when evidence is incomplete, the emotional impact becomes permanent. People are not just reacting to facts, they are reacting to a deeper fear that revolutionary ideas may never survive powerful opposition. And, honestly, history gives them reasons to worry.
Let's talk about food. More specifically, seeds. A century ago, America had enormous agricultural diversity. Thousands of fruit and vegetable varieties existed across farms and orchards. But over time, industrial agriculture narrowed everything down to a small number of highly profitable crops. Today, most grocery stores carry the same few apple varieties, the same tomatoes, the same potatoes, the same standardized produce designed for shipping efficiency and shelf life. Many traditional varieties disappeared completely. At the same time, seed patents transformed agriculture itself. Farmers who once saved and replanted seeds for generations became increasingly dependent on purchasing new, patented seeds every season. Supporters argue these systems improved efficiency and food production. Critics argue they concentrated enormous power into the hands of a few corporations controlling global agriculture. And, honestly, whether you agree or disagree, one thing is undeniable. Humanity quietly lost massive amounts of biological diversity in an incredibly short period of time. Entire flavors vanished. Entire crops disappeared. Ancient farming traditions collapsed. Most people never even noticed it happening. Now here is where everything connects. Every story we discussed follows the same pattern. An invention appears. It threatens existing systems. Money, power, or fear enters the picture. Then, somehow, the invention disappears, weakens, or transforms into something more profitable for the people already in control. Sometimes the suppression is intentional. Sometimes it is simply economic pressure. Sometimes inventors sabotage themselves. And sometimes the truth becomes impossible to separate from myth. But together, these stories reveal something deeply important about modern society. Progress is not just about creating new ideas. It is about whether the world around those ideas allows them to survive. Because technology alone does not shape the future, human incentives do. A perfect invention can still die if powerful systems lose money from its success. And honestly, that realization changes the way you see history. We grow up imagining innovation as an unstoppable force marching civilization forward, but real history is far messier. Some inventions explode into global success. Others vanish into obscurity, even if they worked beautifully. Think about how many discoveries may have appeared too early. How many creators lacked the money, influence, or protection to survive corporate pressure? How many brilliant ideas were buried simply because society was not ready? Even today, inventors constantly face this reality. Small startups create technologies that larger corporations acquire and quietly shelve. Independent researchers struggle to compete against billion-dollar industries. Algorithms decide which ideas spread and which disappear unnoticed. The battlefield just changed shape. And perhaps the most unsettling part is this. The public often never knows what was lost. For every invention that became famous, there may be countless others sitting in forgotten storage rooms, sealed archives, abandoned prototypes, or classified databases. That possibility fascinates people because it transforms history into a giant, unfinished puzzle. Maybe the future we imagine already existed once in some hidden form. Maybe someone solved problems decades earlier than we realize. Or maybe some of these stories became exaggerated because people desperately want to believe hidden answers exist somewhere beyond ordinary life.
Either way, the emotional pull is powerful because at the center of every one of these mysteries is the same question. What kind of world would we live in if innovation was driven entirely by human progress instead of profit, politics, and control? Would technology advance faster? Would energy be cheaper? Would products last longer? Would medicine look completely different? Nobody truly knows, but once you begin studying forgotten inventions, you notice something strange. History is filled with roads humanity almost took, and some of them still feel close enough to touch. Maybe that is why these stories continue spreading across the internet generation after generation. They aren't just about gadgets or machines, they're about hope. The hope that somewhere out there, humanity once came closer to a better future than we realize. And maybe, just maybe, some of those ideas are still waiting to return. So the next time your phone suddenly slows down, your appliance mysteriously breaks, or you hear about a strange invention disappearing overnight, remember this: the battle over innovation never ended. It just became invisible. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe and stick around, because the deeper you dig into forgotten history, the stranger the world starts to look.